Good morning. Welcome to, what do we get to now? It's episode 3, goodness me, of Gel Live. This is going to be a great one. I've been mildly nervous about this one because the boss man's in. He's already chuckling because he knows he's got me wound up. And he's got all sorts of creative ideas, as you'd expect. Nothing less from this guy. But it is the boss man of Gel Studios. Bringing us to the group. It's Graeme. Morning, mate.
How you doing? Right.
Right.
That was a nervous handshake.
It was a please don't stitch me up. No, I mean, I'm joking. I'm obviously exaggerating. How have you been, mate?
Yeah, busy January.
Hasn't it?
Really busy January. Yeah. I mean, it's when did we come back? 4th of Jan. First thing we did was like take a Christmas tree down, which was just like depressing.
I know,
it,
especially in here because it was a big old tree, wasn't it?
Big one. Yeah. But we just hit the ground like running this year. Sai's joined us, our project manager.
Yep.
She's making all kinds of work for all of us. But it's a good thing.
But managed and controlled work, the idea of a project manager, isn't it? And see, Si can hear us and she does. She's got to know she'll be on one of these shows soon.
Yeah. Don't worry, there's not a chair here. I'm not going to pull you in. No, but it's a really interesting role for us because it's the first one really where there's an element of like exploration, discovery, understanding before we do anything. And I've had a busy couple of weeks, and we had our first proper one-to-one this morning actually. And the feedback I've had from the team and obviously from herself has all been really, really good. So change is going to come.
Yeah, absolutely.
For all the right reasons. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting.
And I get it. And we will on a future episode, we'll go into more detail on it. But I, even from my own business, I can get it because the projects just have a life of their own with all the different bits that in your case can involve different people within the organization. So to have that focal point, it's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's project work. I think a more accurate description is like work manager. But it's just as you scale, capacity, throughput, expectations, deliverable, all these things, it's just like multiplies, and it's just this beast. And she's gonna do some good stuff for us.
I love it.
That,
no pressure, Si. So you can just hear enough there, can't you? That's bad. But today's topic, and this really came from, I saw you put this post up, and I got it. I got it completely. The nervous is the fact that there could be some people could take it the wrong way, but it's totally valid points that are worth exercising. And I think even my own business, Visual PR, kind of fell within that realm as well to some extent. And it is, the overarching is the price of creativity, but it is this in particular about agencies in this low cost, high expectation squeeze. I mean, speak to me.
I mean, look, it's something that all service-based businesses are struggling and are going to continue to struggle with, and it's the perception of what you deliver based on value. And perception
from both sides, I think, both sides. From the agency and from the client.
Because obviously the agency, we, or any creatives, we spend an amount of time doing a piece of work. We understand that, is it an uphill battle to kind of explain that before you've even, done the deal? Like if you're buying a car, you wouldn't walk into, I don't know, Audi or BMW and
the car manufacturers are available.
They are available. And they've got a price on there, and you try to haggle within reason. But when you talk about some of the the expectations, if you put it in lands of a car, I want a car for a couple of £100. It's just not a brand new car that has all the bells and whistles. It's just not gonna happen. And all through sort of like the past 10, 11 years of running Gel, this topic is constantly arose. And I've done various talks on it. One of them is, bespoke, buzzword or brilliance. What is the word bespoke? We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute, because that is a word which has been taken, out of context. Now, what does it really mean? I did a talk all about eggs, believe it or not. How would you like to have
I wouldn't
your
put
eggs?
it past you.
Well, buckle in. This is going to be fun. Again, you can have an egg, but what do you do with it? Scrambled, omelette, whatever, what goes into it. And I guess this is just my take on this same subject. But what I've trying to do is to put out there an explanation which any service-based business which struggles with, communicating their price, their value to customers in a way that they understand. So never really done this before. So this is the joys of live.
And I think, and it's equally, I think it's important to just make sure that it's absolutely understood where this is coming from. Is the point being is that there is a mass of tools available, some of them pretty low cost as well, for people to go and do some of the tasks that agencies or other creatives can do for them. They could go and do it themselves.
Totally.
But what the misunderstanding can be is, right, how well can you do it? How consistent, how disciplined, how creative? I've done it myself where I've suddenly gone, I don't know, let's go the most obvious. Oh, actually, do you know what? I'm going to bring my social media management in-house. That's a big overarching one. And for about a couple of weeks, I'm very good. And then it disappears somewhat.
Consistency.
Absolutely, because I'm busy and I suddenly go, oh, heck, that's a month's gone by and I've done nothing. Let alone the fact that I start running out of ideas because I've got to try and think of this when I've got everything else I'm trying to do. And fine, I can jump on a online graphic design
course.
It's a platform and do stuff that are okay. But it's when you then come back with the creative agencies and suddenly go, it does take it to another level. I mean, I have it with visual PR, is that sure, someone could set up a camera in front of them and go, hi, my name's Chris, I'm from visual PR. And
it's not the same.
Exactly right.
So this is what we're going to try and talk about. I'm going to break it into a couple of areas. We've got the output. So, creation of a graphic, creation of a website, what everybody sees. We've got the ingredients, what goes into that. We've got the people, and we've got the tools. Okay, so shall we start?
Let's do this.
Let's start. This is... So anybody that knows me knows that one of my hobbies is cooking. Okay, I'm not an expert chef by any means, but it's a passion. Okay, and the passion is really relative when we talk about anything which is in the mind, because if you do something as a hobby and it's fueled with passion, you're gonna succeed.
Of course.
Okay, and you start from somewhere. Okay, and it might be terrible, but because it's that passion, you want to improve it, you want to do better. Okay, and that's what fuels you. So if you look at myself and my journey, I was interested in making websites. I was passionate about it. I wasn't paid for it. There was no purpose for me doing this stuff. I just started doing it because it was fueled by my passion. Now it's turned into Okay, so let's get started. Okay,
let's do this.
So I've brought here today some cooking stuff. Okay, right.
You really have.
So here we go. Right. So this is what do you think that is? What do you think that is?
Well, I was going to say a microwave, but it's in metal, so it's not microwave. But a throw it in the oven lasagna.
That is a throw in the oven frozen lasagna. Okay, and this, guess what that is?
That's a microwave version.
That's a microwave lasagna. Okay, so let's just look at what this means. Okay, in our space. Okay, this is very much going to be kind of like your online builder. Okay, it's going to be your Fiverr. It's going to be I want something to eat. Okay. And people are going to have to eat all of these. They've been out and they've been defrosted.
Is that why you brought donuts in to sort of
to help cushion it? Yes, exactly. Now let's just have a little look at these. Okay, these are mass produced, volumetric. They are made in a factory, probably the same sort of factory, regardless of what supermarket you go to. We've all seen the cooking shows and everything like that. The ingredients are going to be weighed down to the millimeter. The goal is to mass produce and to get out making a profit as much as you possibly can. Okay.
Absolutely.
The quality of it, questionable. Okay, especially when you compare it to some of the other things that we've got coming in.
Absolutely.
But they serve a purpose.
Absolutely.
They serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And this talk today is by no means to kind of undermine anybody that wants to go out. It's fast. It's convenient.
Exactly. And so we're in a rush. I need something to eat. I haven't got time to cook. Absolutely brilliant. I've got something I can use.
Totally. I might have never done this before. I've gone online. I found something. I've made it. It's serving its function. It's out there and it's doing it. It has its place.
Yep.
Number one.
And I have to say, a part of his soul just destroyed when he bought that in the supermarket.
Right. The one eating it. Next one. Okay. The next level. Okay. So lasagna sheets. I've got
one sheet.
One sheet, but plenty. Some passata, like a cheese sauce. Got my other sauce there.
I like the way you've been very disciplined in keeping the brands here.
Well, I wanted to keep this to the point, Chris. I didn't want to go.
I like it.
A stock cube. It's got to have flavour.
Of course.
Okay. And then obviously you've got your mince as well. So this is your next level. Okay. So this is your want to have a dablet doing my lasagna at home. Okay. It is in a completely different form than the frozen one. Okay. You've got to put a bit of time. You've got to put a bit of effort into it. This is what I look at like your online builders. This is where you can go and get theme. You can customize it. You can go over to AI. You can type in the ingredients that you want to get out of all of those things. And chances are you're going to have a nice meal.
Yep.
You're going to have a nice meal. The one thing which is fundamentally different between these two, time.
Yes.
And also the idea of asking questions beforehand. So you might want to, I don't know, spice this up. I might want to dice an onion and put that in there. I might feel a bit fancy. I might want to put a extra bit of salt and pepper and something on there. The idea is that it is a step different from this. But when we look at all of these are all ready-made pieces. Okay, so that means that you're still confined.
Yes.
Okay, so if we look at things like online builders, let's use something, say, for example, like, I don't know, say Shopify, for example, like that.
Yep.
You can customize, you can move, you can do all these various things, and you can come up with a wonderful meal, but you are still confined by the base level of ingredients and other bits and bobs and the way that those things are put together, okay?
Yep.
Now, it's worthwhile mentioning that was very much our business for a long time. We used a content management system, which we still use to this day. We would advise people, go for this one here, use this, use that, and everything like that as well. And I'd like to think, built a very good business off of that. And there are lots of other, agencies and stuff out there which are running on that model really, really well. But that's not where we want to be. So shall we go to the next one?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And by the way, for anybody watching this live, please do add any comments or questions that you may have, because we can put those up on screen. You will be including your name and your profile photo. But any questions, any comments, if this is resonating with you, please do drop any lines up and like it, share it, all of those kind of things. It does stay there after it's live as well. This boy's cooking is like immortalized today. So.
Yeah, that could be another video where we actually do a cook along. Right, this is where we want to be.
Yes.
Okay. Everything in here, I'd like to think, is the ingredients for a fantastic.
I'm impressed.
Fantastic.
I feel like I've got to move out of the way.
Look, we've got the milk and the cheese to make the cheese sauce. We've got the raw ingredients here to make, the celery, the onions, the peppers, to make the wonderful bolognese base. We've got some wine to pop in.
I noticed that's not unopened, by the way.
That has been used. Yes, in cooking.
Yes,
by the way.
Not this morning. I hasten.
We've got some eggs to be able to mix together to make the pasta. We've got the beef there, which is ready to be minced up. We've got the flour. We've got all of the raw ingredients here. Okay, now this is what, like I said, where the next step for us. This is where we want to be, and a big part of it starts before we've even started cooking. Okay. The big part starts before we've even cooking.
Yeah.
So let me paint the picture, okay? Whoop, don't want to fall over there. So let's start this. There you go.
Oh, see, I knew I was on a promise today.
There you go. Let's set the scene, okay? What's the occasion for your lasagna, sir? Is this going to be a nice little evening where we're going to spend together? what else would you like with your lasagna? Would you like to have some nice greens on the side? You've got to heat healthy, haven't you?
Absolutely.
Would you like to have some nice garlic bread on the side to really amplify that lasagna there as well? And here we go. Would Sir like a wonderful tiramisu to really round the evening off?
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm certainly hungry now, that's for sure.
Lasagna, lovely date night idea, recipes available online. My point is, with that level of detail, the levels of questions, the level of planning, you get something which on the face of it, the output may well look the same, but it will be healthier.
Yep.
It will mean something. It will likely have memories. It will likely be something which tells a story, something that your customers will be involved with. It's fundamentally different than something which is an off-the-shelf solution.
Agreed.
Will last
deeper,
longer.
it's richer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, you finish this and you go, oh, I'm still hungry.
Probably,
You've not
yeah.
asked a vital question. How much would you like to eat?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, this is all one part of the story. I'll leave the candle there because that's quite nice. Okay.
Yeah, please.
So let's now talk about the tools that you use. Okay. So we've highlighted all of the ingredients. Okay. Let's now talk about the tools. Okay. So here we go. Got some lovely pans here. Okay. Like I said, buckle in, everybody. It's a lovely pan. Very well used. Okay. Would you cook a lasagna in that?
No.
No, you wouldn't cook a lasagna in that, would
No.
you? Much like the same way that on the face of it, we use a microwave to do that, don't you?
Yes.
Well, we want to put the ingredients together in the best possible way. So what would you use? Well, you might start off with a pan. You might upgrade to do your simmering and everything in a little bit more of a purposeful pan.
Yeah.
Then when it's ready to go into the oven, you've obviously got your lovely baking
good
dish.
sized dish.
That's the point. That's what I'm on about.
Yeah.
So when you cook, you make it for lots of people.
Heck
Okay.
yes.
Now, for a long time, I'm going to admit that I thought the tools were one of the most important things. Okay, so one of the key things that anybody that knows me knows that I'm a massive ambassador for the content management system ModX.
Yep.
What the sign up on there and everything is. It's a tool. Okay. Now, let me just make this analogy with regards to cooking. Gordon Ramsay could pop down to Aldi, other budget brands available, go down to the middle aisle, and he could pick up some of the cheapest pans in the world, and he could still make an absolute masterpiece with it. Yeah. Does that add diminishing returns to what he can actually do with some of his very fancy dishes and stuff? Probably, but he could, on the purposes of this, create something which is spectacular. Exactly the same for us as a full service agency. The system is just a tool that we use. How we use it is what's best.
With a degree of consideration, because that pan might not be non-stick, let's say, as a daft example. So there is a consideration.
Clear,
absolutely.
Sure. So this is what then comes down to the final part of that, the chef.
Yeah.
Yep. So the chef could have the world's best ingredients. You could have the world's best pans. You could be a sports player and you could have the best football boots, the best football, but you're still naff.
Yep.
Comes down to the people. Okay. So this is, again, one of the fundamental differences for us as a creative agency. It's not just one chef. We've got many chefs. So when you look at creating, say, for example, a marketing campaign, we've got one chef in his section of the kitchen coming up with a marketing plan and a strategy. We've got another chef which is coming up with the graphics which support that campaign, which are thought-provoking, best in class, you know, bleeding edge in terms of new design trends. And then we've got another chef in terms of the web who's putting all these things together, accountability to present it to the client.
Yeah.
Now, again, the output may well look the same as a frozen lasagna, but the thought, the accountability, the reasons why it succeeds, the reason why it might not succeed, all of those things are positives which the business owner can then walk away and learn from and develop from. And that, in a roundabout way, is what I'm trying to explain. And the reason why my post started is that, you know, on social media, we see lots of people in local business groups say, can I find a designer? Can I do this? Can I do that? Okay. And when you look at the people that make these, you will find these in key eyeline shots in supermarkets, much like all of the online builders. You'll find them having marketing, which they can put hundreds of thousands of pounds into. It's a machine which is moving and it's turning. And there are expectations which are set either in terms of price or deliverables. And when you go on social media and people are asking for these things, you just know, and anybody that runs an agency will understand this, you are already starting a battle to educate that person and change their perception. And when you're starting a relationship when it's based on price and you're having to change that, 9 times out of 10, that is just the wrong sort of client to deal with.
Yeah.
When you then put on top of that an emotional thing where you have friends who know the business, follow the business, recommending you, and then it's like, okay, I'll comment, I'll look at all these things. Where does the line stop?
Yeah.
And that's really where my post came from. In a roundabout way, what you want to kind of say is, you know, look, if you have a budget upwards of a couple of £1,000 and you want to look at X, Y, and Z, you have a clear brief, that's a really good place to start. But posts from looking for somebody to do marketing, looking for somebody to build a website, and it's like 500 quid top budget.
Yeah.
You're going to get that. You're going to get that.
But taking that a little bit deeper, and this is really from probably my commercial background as well, is that to turn around and go, as long as you've, and I'm paraphrasing, as long as you've got, using your figures, £2,000
Yep.
as a budget for this, and there is, and I know that this does lead on to one of your key points, there is that perception. At that point, I could turn around and go, you know, wow, that's a lot of money for me to spend.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I've put a value on anything yet, but I don't understand the value yet. So at which point do you kind of, and I don't know whether you know the answer to this, at which point do you kind of go, no, we can't satisfy that? Or do you have a bit of a conversation to find out more from them and then position yourself, just not justify, I can't think of a better word.
Rationale to it.
Yeah. For this is the price, but this is the value. This is what you're getting.
We see that is the way that we position ourselves. You know, much like the way that there's the mass market, you know, doing the builders and everything. We like to think that everybody has a conversation regardless. And what we've witnessed over a period of time is those conversations normally resolve in people going off and doing it and then coming back to us and having a position of understanding. Now, that in itself is actually very powerful knowledge for us to have.
100%.
Because that's why we will then partner with, you know, smaller agencies that are able to, because of running costs, op costs, and other bits and bobs like that, operate at, you know, at that lower price point, but still deliver a, you know, a fantastic service. You know, like that, you know, middle realm put together stuff, which is fantastic. It's education. That's the whole reason why we're doing this. You know, none of this is a sales pitch. None of this is anything to do with, you know, trying to detract customers or anything like that. It's about informing and educating people. And it's not just the creative industry. It's any service-based industry. With the emergence of like AI and the way it's getting, you know, smarter, better, you know, all of those things, you know, legal documents, for example, people going off and asking AI to create, you know, terms and conditions, privacy policies on their on their websites, you know. With the greatest respect, nobody's going to really understand the value of that until somebody holds them up on it and they ultimately have to part money with it. Totally. Same as insurance, right? You know, you don't really understand the value of insurance until you have to use it, you know, and this is that cycle which we're trying to at least let people understand.
Absolutely.
We see it our responsibility to educate anybody that calls up and to give them the best experience. Whether we end up doing business with them or not, we can refer them to other places, or we can obviously educate those people in terms of, well, this is what we can offer for that. Or equally, you know, we can do things like payment plans, installment stuff, other bits and bobs as well to help those sort of things. Which works as well.
And interestingly, taking this deeper, and this is what I did love about your post originally, and the conversations you and I have had subsequently, is you're totally fair about this, is that we've kind of, largely my fault is that we focused on the perception of the client, if you will, to the value and what they're looking for, what they might go for. But equally, your post was as much about the creative itself, in going, make sure you are listening, because are they giving you the ingredients to be able to make that final dish?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the most successful creatives have egos. They do.
My way's the best. Yeah,
totally. They have their style. They have their recipe for success. You know, let's repeat it again, and that's great. And that works for many creators that are out there.
Yeah.
Our approach is fundamentally different. You know, everybody that's employed here in Jowl is an expert in their individual field. You will not find anybody here which does a bit of marketing, does a bit of web development. That doesn't happen. So you get the best person in each respective role. It's their job to listen and ask questions. So when somebody comes to us and they say, I've got this idea, I'd like a graphic which is going to stand out, it's not a case of, well, I'm going to put, this style font, which which has worked well for me before. I'm going to position and use these images and everything. Well, no, it's much deeper. How hungry are you? What's the appetite for the person that's going to eat that? Would they like to have, a nice candle on there? It's those sort of things before we even start. And it's those things there which you don't see on any of these online builders or anything, because it's
rinse and
the thought that
repeat.
goes into it.
Yeah,
totally. It's a machine which is meant to be repeated over and over and over again. And what you will see steps of progress with those systems, which will normally come from a position of losing market share. Something new's come out and they'll jump on it. Whereas what I'd like to think you see here at GEL is that every single project we work on, we do something different. We have like a little mantra here. Every single piece of work you do, try to do something better than you did before. And so you have this continuous improvement which goes on. And the proof in the pudding really is what we just started this conversation off with Sai joining us. We are at a stage where we need to closely look our systems, our processes. We need to adapt, we need to change in a fluid way so that we can continue to grow and continue to do great work. You just don't get that with online tools.
No. And I mean, that's why you guys have so much fun, in all honesty, in the work you do, because it makes it so varied.
Yes.
It cannot be a one size fits all by any stretch of the imagination. Yeah. And as I say, is that I can relate to it with my company in the fact that, yeah, sure, I could just go and do this show and just for everyone. But as you know, behind the scenes, we're working on yours and someone else's. They're totally different.
Yeah.
And they have to be.
Yeah. I mean, you say that, but actually one of the safest things that an agency can do is niche. Yeah. If you niche into a certain sector as a creative and you get a portfolio of work which can accurately demonstrate it, then why would anybody not go with you? You've got a proven track record.
Yes, yeah.
You don't have to do any of these things. You can establish yourself as a thought leader. You can do content around all those things. It makes sense. I get it. I don't want to do that. No. So my view is that our goal is much more than, running a business to make a profit. Our vision statement is inspiring change through creativity. So what does that actually mean? What it actually means is that the bigger we get, the more good we will do in terms of either, and I'm not talking about good in terms of the actual work we produce. That's I'd like to think going to be excellent anyway. It's the contribution we make to our local community and beyond. For us to niche would tunnel vision what we do.
Yeah.
The way that we look at it at the moment is the fact that where we're not niche, well, who's to say with all these thoughts, all these questions, we've done this in this pharma industry, we've seen success with that campaign. Well, why don't we try that in the hospitality sector? Let's see what that does over there. And when you kind of communicate this approach to the clients that work with us for this exact reason, makes us incredibly diverse and resilient as well. And so, like I said, I know many agency owners, very successful agency owners, which is successfully niched into one thing. My worry is that if we were to do that, would it get a bit samey? Would that every day is different kind of start to reduce? That's not the sort of place I want to build.
And that is the problem, isn't it? You become stale. I think that's probably quite, if you're doing the same thing.
Yeah, I think leadership is a really, really big thing in this time. I think when you are with a bunch of creative people, they need to be fueled.
Yeah.
I'd like to think my leadership style is very high energy, very high tempo, come in, hi everybody, let's go. They need to see that. And if I lost that, I think that would impact the team.
Agreed, but I mean, I use it for instance. Obviously, I was lucky enough to be at the Total Boardroom Networking event where you did your presentation on collaboration or competition, and amazing presentation. If anybody's not seen it, you need to see this presentation by Graeme. Genuinely, the feedback from everybody that was at that event was probably heartwarming to yourself.
I knew bringing out the candle was a good idea.
But exactly, you're smooth talking with that, and that's it. But my key point here being is that, but even with that one, if you were then asked to do that more than once in a day, hell, let's even just turn around and say one day every week, just as a for instance. You would lose the oomph, the passion, the pizzazz that you gave with that.
What you're seeing from the presentation is the output.
Absolutely.
what you're not seeing behind that is what motivates me to make that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure every single version of that talk I would do would be fundamentally different.
Which is part of my open doors training that I say to people, let them be different.
Exactly, embrace it. It's that energy and that wider purpose, which is what drives me personally, and equally what we do here every single day by it not being the same. And no, I'm really glad that was the reception for that talk, and I've had some really good one-to-ones with people since.
I can imagine.
And it's almost like it's do you know what, it's okay to collaborate. You know, I think with everything that's going on in the world, we've got all these wars and stuff going on at the moment, there's divides. Oh, there we go. Somebody at the door.
Someone at the door.
Yeah, somebody at the door. We are more connected now than ever. And with remote work, working from home, hybrid working, all these other bits and bobs, what's the difference? Communication is at the core, whether you have employees which are working from home or remotely, internally. So why can't that be the same externally? And that's very much my whole thing with regards to the collaboration. And the only people which benefit from that, well, no, everybody benefits from that. Each company can benefit. The client benefits, they get the best people. Absolutely. You know, all of those things.
Well, and surely that whole almost free flow creative conversation, two-way conversation at that, is what, you know, I always said it breeds innovation. Communication is what leads to innovation, not waking up with an epiphany and go, I've got a great idea. It is that suddenly you kind of go, oh, wow, okay, well, surely we could do this. And your team with all the different expertise go, well, actually, if we took what I'm good at with what you're good at, the client's ultimately trying to achieve X. Hey, we could do it by doing this. And as well as X, they'll also achieve Y. And it's that both communication, that freedom of creativity that enables us to do it. And I mean, here's a prime example. And again, for a second, bring it back to my business as well, is to show we could put you in front of a camera and go, Graeme, talk about this now. And you would, and you'd do a pretty good job at it. But this free flow conversation enables you to bring it to life, to articulate it in a more sort of engaging way. And that's what my business happens to do. As an example, take it to another level.
And it's authentic.
You
know, so the you know, innovation is heavily linked here to inspiration. You know, and that was part of the reason why this space was made the way that it was. It was meant to be an open space for not just our team, for anybody that wants to come in. It is geared up so that you can have, you know, solo moments in Gemini where you just want to be it yourself. You can have, you know, big brainstorming sessions in Lancaster behind there. You can sit on the tiered seating area with a beanbag and a notepad. Some of my fondest things are actually like Alicia, our creative. She normally sits on the thing behind us there with a notepad, and then it's just like, what on earth are you making there? And it's like, oh, wow, you know.
You know the magic's happening when you see it.
The magic's happening, exactly. And this is where it all then comes down to a much, you know, bigger piece, which is like company culture, you know, value set, and all those other things. And that is not what anybody sees when they see. Here it is again. This is a good prop. It's getting quite squidgy now. They just see that. They don't see any of the stuff which goes on. But I could hand on heart guarantee you that even if we made something which was, you know, on the face of it identically the same, ours would keep you fuller for longer. You'd have had an experience creating it.
You'd have had pride letting other people taste it.
And you know what? You'd learned something along the way. You know, some of the best feedback we get from our clients is, you know, thought-provoking. You know, I'm never going to look at these things the same way again. Personal development for those people being alongside, you know, because likewise, you know, if you've got somebody training you in the kitchen, you go off and do lessons in terms of being a chef, you're going to learn something, right? And that's exactly part of that process.
But I mean, just, you know, going back to the article, that I absolutely love this, where you turn around and say that those alternatives are efficient for basic needs. You know, there is an acknowledgement of that, but rarely, and this is the key part, rarely offer the strategic depth, nuanced storytelling. You get a nosebleed using that word.
Thought I'd break out the thesaurus.
This is impressive, mate.
I did a Joey from Friends.
You did, exactly. I was thinking the same. And long-term vision that established agencies bring to the table. And you know, I even talk about it in saying that, you know, we've got the expertise, the tools, whatever they happen to be, the subscriptions maybe, the know-how, the time as well, the focus, the management and things like that. But, you know, as you say, it's the key thing is about, I mean, we've already touched on I mean, you use the phrase redefining the value. Sometimes it might just be defining the value.
Yeah.
It's not always redefining it.
Yeah, I think as we're shifting into a bigger agency, the redefining of value is an important thing, because normally the sort of clients we're working with have had agency experience before, whether they're niched or whether they're very fixated on process, whatever. So, we do have to redefine. One of the biggest things for us at the moment is like discovery work. Yep. So, if we look at our process in terms of making a quote with a brief, realistically, for the sort of work that we're doing, it can take upwards of 15 hours to put together a meaningful brief. 15 hours. So 15 hours, £95 an hour, you can figure out kind of what that costs. Right up until very recently, we've just been doing that. So when you think 5-6 of those a week, typically members of the leadership team are needed to do those sort of things, the impact is absolutely huge. The value that goes out in those proposals and those briefs and those scoping documents afterwards is immense.
Yes, absolutely.
That provides comfort to MDs in terms of, right, they've understood what we've got, tick the box. We can give very, very clear deliverables in terms of the dates and everything. When we're working with other teams of people, they can work that in around all of those things. Yeah. It's the next phase of where we're going and the people that we want to work with, and they understand that. What we say to people is, if we're doing technical projects or anything like that, our guarantee is that, look, if you come to us, we'll refund part of that discovery off of the project for you, because that's it's a process we need to go through, because otherwise technically that results in things like scope creep, things go over, expectations aren't set, and that goes into a more of an emotional place, which is not where we want to go. No. But again, redefining that and explaining that to a customer. And the funny thing is, nobody's batted an eyelid with it. Everybody has got it. When we explain from that position of, this is the reason why we do it, they get it. Not necessarily those kind of referrals that we get from somebody on social media.
Although you can never prejudge either.
No.
Interestingly.
No.
So, I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. So, I mean, redefining beyond the billable hours, focus on the true value that is delivered, including strategic thinking and insights that drive business growth. So it's not just create something that's pretty. It is about driving that business growth. So there's a reason, there's the analysis afterwards that can go behind it. We talk about, you could just suddenly put something up there, but do you know how much that's been engaged with, how much of an effect it's had on people?
Is very often overlooked.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, I want to create something, but how effective is it? And this is where, again, you go from a one-time thing to a long-standing relationship.
Yes.
Because if you ask those questions, Chris, how hungry are you? And then it's like, you build in a feedback process afterwards. Are you filled? Afterwards, you then know when you're going into the next thing, well, no. Okay, we need to switch things up. We need to change. If you just jump straight into something and you've not thought about how you're going to use it, how you're going to execute it, you've got no data to be able to effectively, judge the success on it. And that is what we normally see with a lot of marketing people that have done it themselves. Oh, I've done my own social media for, a couple of months.
Well, how did it go? I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, have you got a CRM? Have you been asking people in the sales process, where have you heard from me from? Have you sort of been tracking how many activities you're doing and then overlaying that with any spikes in growth? The website, how has that been doing over, the past couple of months compared to what it was before? If you're not comparing, it's not. And that's where the nuance, the depth, all those other things come from, because those are the light bulb moments for people that come to us, I won't name any names, but we've had really, really big clients in the local area come to us. They don't have any tracking on their site.
I can believe it. Yeah.
And so that puts us in a situation, because when we're delivering a new project and we have tracking, that's the baseline. Well, no, it's not the baseline. So again, it's being very clear with those conversations when we start, that's going to be your new baseline, and we'll try to, put things in beforehand, but it's tough. And that's where the reposition and value.
And that's what I love about the logic of this point, is that, again, I was able to go, yes, I can get that with your websites, your SEO, your social media, that can get the results. And, obviously as a client of yours as well, because it's a two-way relationship we have here, that I've been able to see those stats come up, and you go, okay, well, let's have a look. The PPC is not working there. Everything's able to analyze and judge the next step. I'm able to do the same. I mean, that the phrase that I've had is that if I put a written article, which I still do, and it's still important, still got its place, but I put a written PR article up, is it being read at all?
Yep.
How much of that are they reading, and is it being read in the tone and emotions that I hoped, and has it spurred them onto action? You know, was that inquiry from something they've read? I have no idea, because it's just sat there in the journal or whatever.
Yep.
Maybe online I can get a little bit more, but I'm still not in control of those things, which, as you know, when I first came to you with the visual PR idea, this suddenly is, we're getting the personalities. Your message is being brought to life here. And we're in control. People could be asking questions and all of those kind of things. And, you know, afterwards it's, you know, we can have the stats of how many watched it a week later, a year later. You've got this reusable tool. And that's where, you know, now take your own industry and start applying it to that. And you get to see, yeah, that's true. That which is what resonated me.
And the key thing is that all of those questions, how are people reading it? What are they doing? Those are all asked before you've even written your first word or put your pen to paper or whatever. Because if you look, say, for example, like Google Analytics or GA4, that will record so much data.
And more than I know what to do with. There lies another point. I don't know what to do with that data. You guys do.
Unless you're going in with a lens, looking at something specific based around a human, you know, a question that a human could ask one another, it means nothing. And, you know, we've experienced that where it's like a customer says to us, you know, demonstrate success to us. We've had these website views, we have this and this. What does that mean in terms of sales? You know, if you don't ask the question, you don't build the reporting things in place to, you know, account of those things to one another, it means nothing, you know. And none of that stuff happens when people use the DIY builders. They'll go and they'll use those things, they'll create the graphic, and it will just be it's just a travelator. You'll just keep going on that. You won't be moving up. You won't be doing anything. You will just be repeating the exact same thing. You might see success. When you try to dive into what has made that a success, you're going to come up blanks because you've not got that, you know, viewport to go in and you know, put the two things together. That's where we help. That's where we come in, and we can be either helping you define your goals, or actually, you know, from our non-niche view, explaining, well, these would actually be reasonable. Let's explore what those look like to you.
Exactly.
Into small businesses, that's alien.
Yeah.
Because, well, I just want a graphic made.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just want a poster.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but what's the bigger purpose for that? You just design things. Well, yes, but we help consult as well. And that's, it's just a whole plethora of stuff.
And, you know, hence another point, data-driven decision-making that optimize campaign performance. You know, I love that. That made sense. The other key point that you went on to was communicating the why. And you know I love that. Is the why has to be understood, conveyed, and accepted from the other side as well. And that, I think, you know, we don't need to flog it because you've largely covered that in the fact that the discussions in the discovery conversations and things like that are absolutely vital for you to understand the why. That then enables you to present the why to the client of what you're going to be able to do. And it then rings true with, remember your phrase, remember, it's not about the cheapest, it's about being the most valuable. And that's why I say is that it's about perceived value. And if you someone just turn to me and go, it's X amount of thousands of pounds, I'll go, wow, okay, that feels like a lot of money to spend. Whereas if you sit there and kind of go, no, 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 yes, 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 that's going to help me do this. Okay, I'll spend that money. And suddenly it becomes a lot more doable.
Totally. And, you know, some really good examples of how that's been marketed, you know, M&S. I'm pretty sure, don't quote me on this, but, you know, they're fresh like lasagna. That's where I got it from. You know, the ingredients that have gone into it, the process that's gone into it, is probably exactly the same as one that you could get fresh from, you know, any other supermarket. But what have M&S done? M&S have marketed it as an experience. So, you know, it's not just any lasagna, it's an M&S, you know. So that feeling you get when you go and buy it, the product is probably fundamentally exactly the same, but they've built a feeling, an experience, a journey. Anything sounds similar here, you know? And that is then, you know, inspiring different buying habits, different ways that people view their products and everything. It'd be really interesting to dive into the effectiveness of that. Another great one, corn, vegetarian food. For years, it was marketed as, you know, that's what vegetarians eat. One of the best things they did in the mid 2010s, they hired Mo, so Olympic winner, and they rebranded it to a healthy alternative to meat. Absolute genius. Product, exactly the same, but the way they marketed it and with its purpose, genius.
Well, you know that because I've quoted this at you multiple times, is dead cow or beef steak, both exactly the same thing, but one sounds a lot tastier than the other. And it rings true. And I do that in my public speaking training and media training and things. And it's the same in the marketing. It is be mindful of what you're saying, how you're saying. And, you know, yes, that corn change is an absolutely true one. And we can probably come up with countless others that have made
it's the come fly with me thing. It jumps to mind. Somebody in my family, they go, beef or cow from the come fly with me thing. Mark, that's you. It is. It's how it's marketed.
Yes.
You know, and it's as much, that's an outward projection, but it's the inward projection about what makes it a success.
Exactly.
You know, just like this here, how would you like your lasagna, sir? Would you like it quick for lunch, or would you like to have a lovely sit down meal with a candle? You know, tiramisu, you know, those sort of things. It's the same product.
Yes.
But it's how it's marketed and it's the meaning that it has afterwards.
And, you know, to wrap this all the way back round to the sort of almost a conclusion, if you will, is that if we now sort of say, right, this advice, you know, from when I read it, is that it's not just aimed at going, people, you need to accept the value of the creativities. There is an element of that. I go, look, make sure you understand, the tools are there. The tools are there to be used, and there's a time and a place for certain things. But bear this in mind, and this is why it's not kicking out cheap. But equally, to empower creatives in whatever industry it happens to be, that says, guys, seriously, listen to what the objectives, not just the brief, because that could be wrongly predetermined, but what are the objectives, what are they trying to achieve, how can we do that for them, then present that value to them, give them that why, and help them redefine the value as well. And then you've got this great business relationship that carries forward. That's how I perceived it. Is that?
I think any service-based business where, you know, your knowledge and expertise is up there, the greatest gift which you can give to any of your customers is to ask them questions.
Agreed.
Before you start focusing on the output. If you start asking the questions, you build rapport. If you're brave enough to challenge the responses, you're going to become memorable. And certainly when you're in a pitch situation, nobody's going to really remember if it's like, I want this. Yep, we can do that. Yep, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. But if you were to say, well, why do you want that? I don't think from my experience, that's really it. If you thought of that, that makes you memorable. That makes you different. And that makes you unique. The value is there. The real value is there.
Agreed.
When you've got all the information, you've got all the variables, you've got all the ingredients, you've got the experience, you've got your toolkit. You've been cooking in the kitchen for a fair while. You can create something which is absolutely fantastic, but tailored to that customer. That makes you invaluable.
Agreed. And I mean, I do love the way that it made me think as well, and it just resonated, and I just love the way you brought that to life. It worked well. Thank you. A couple of you did like. We got Virgo Miklos and Dean Hart. Thank you for your so thank you for the likes and loves. Even if you're watching this after the live event, you know, please feel free to sort of share it. Please do. Drop any questions or comments through, because the guys will be able to have a look. And if you've got any thoughts for any future episodes as well, it's always worth dropping a line. Because we're back next month for episode 4, and goodness only knows what we'll do.
I won't bring food.
I love what you've done here, because literally, what was this? This was beginning of this week, I think we decided on what the content was. And that was only because I saw your article and I went, that's the one. That's what we need to do.
Well, that's what these things are all about. Take a topic, talk about it. It doesn't need to be rehearsed. So it's genuine.
It wasn't. About it all. We've both been so busy this morning. We've barely even spoken to each other than hurling abuse at each other every now and again. And then sort of go with this. And it makes sense, which is why hopefully the sort of like me having the input has taken it away from just Graeme talking about gel and everything. It's like, no. This is aiding and assisting other creatives, and myself included with visual PR. It resonated totally with me. So thank you for the article. Thank you for the piece as well.
No worries.
I love the fact that we do have a couple of you putting it. Lewis, great session, Graeme. Thank you for that, Lewis. And Duncan says, great discussion. Thank you, Duncan. Appreciate that.
Good.
So it is to say it. And Carly are having lasagna for team lunch then.
Yeah, she does like a good Italian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. And Graham's not a good Italian, but don't worry about that.
I can cook that.
Yeah, that's all right then. That's all right then. But thank you. And that was a good mix of that. Some of those comments came in from LinkedIn, Carly from Facebook, and it's on YouTube as well. And that's the first time we've gone out on your LinkedIn this time. Did you know that?
No.
You did it, yeah. We added that.
Trust in the process and the people that are doing it.
Yeah, it's out on the LinkedIn there as well, the Gel Studios LinkedIn. So thank you, Graeme, for the content, for the way that you brought it to life. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always. So that leaves us with episode 3 reaching its conclusion, and we will be back in a month. We'll sort out the date in due course, and we'll publicize that hopefully like about a week before, something like that, including who's going to be on it, what the content's going to be. But from Graeme Leighfield and myself, Chris Dawes, thank you for watching Gel Studios Live. See you next time.